Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Mad Poets ASMR. In this episode, I'll be reading the works by the great William Wordsworth, a personal favourite of mine. We'll get more into why that is, and more about his works, and about the works I'm going to read in this episode towards the end of the video. I might do some little bits in between them as well. I hope you enjoy and find this relaxing for whatever you might be doing. Just please don't be operating heavy machinery. Anyways, without further ado, here is the first piece. I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud by William Wordsworth. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of the bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills, and dances with the daffodils. I'm not going to admit how many mistakes and edits it took to get this far, but it's a lot more than I would like. So, that was I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud by William Wordsworth, an English poet and a personal favourite of mine. I credit him with my interest for poetry in the first place. When I was very small, I took a school trip to his cottage in the Lake District, and I wrote my first poem ever in his cottage. And I've held on to his poetry and the art of poetry ever since. It's only in recent years that I've actually picked up the hobby and decided that I want to delve deeper into it. And being a fan of ASMR, I thought, why not combine the two? But more on that later. The next piece I'd like to read for you is one that I actually hadn't heard before until recently. It's called Lines Written a Few Miles Above Tintern Abbey. It's very different from Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. I have actually never seen a poem in such a large format before. I will admit, I'm not sure if I'm going to read this correctly, so if there are any poetry enthusiasts more experienced than I who would like to correct me, by all means feel free. I'm not an expert, I just have an appreciation for the art. But anyway, enough with my excuses. So, this is Lines Written a Few Miles Above Tintern Abbey. 5 years have passed, 5 summers with the length of 5 long winters, and again I hear these waters rolling from their mountain springs with a soft inland murmur. Once again do I behold these steep and lofty cliffs that on a wild, secluded scene impress thoughts of more deep seclusion and connect the landscape with the quiet of the sky. The day is come when I again repose here under this dark sycamore, and view these plots of cottage ground, these orchard tufts, which at this season with their unripe fruits are clad in one green hue, and lose themselves mid groves and copses. Once again I see these hedgerows, hardly hedgerows, little lines of sportive wood run wild, these pastoral farms, green to the very door, and wreaths of smoke sent up in silence from among the trees, with some uncertain notice, as might seem, of vagrant dwellers in these houseless woods, or of some hermit's cave, where by his fire the hermit sits alone. These beauteous forms, through a long absence, have not been to me as is a landscape to a blind man's eye, but oft in lonely rooms and mid the din of towns and cities I have owed to them, in hours of weariness, sensations sweet, felt in the blood and felt along the heart, and passing even into my purer mind with tranquil restoration, feelings too of unremembered pleasure, such perhaps as have no slight or trivial influence on that best portion of a good man's life, his little nameless unremembered acts of kindness, of love, nor less, I trust. To them I may have owed another gift, of aspects more sublime, that blessed mood, in which the burthen of the mystery, in which the heavy and the weary weight of all this unintelligible world is lightened, that serene and blessed mood, in which the affections gently lead us on, until the breath of this corporeal frame, and even the motion of our human blood almost suspended, we are laid asleep in body and become a living soul, while with an eye made quiet by the power of harmony and the deep power of joy, we see into the life of things. If this be but a vain belief, yet oh, how oft in darkness and amid the many shapes of joyless daylight, when the fretful stir unprofitable and the fever of the world have hung upon the beatings of my heart, how oft in spirit have I turned to thee, O sylvan Wye, thou wanderer through the woods, how often has my spirit turned to thee. And now, with gleams of half-extinguished thought, with many recognitions dim and faint, and somewhat of a sad perplexity, the picture of the mind revives again, while here I stand not only with the sense of present pleasure, but with pleasing thoughts that in this moment there is life and food for future years, and so I dare to hope, though changed no doubt from what I was when first I came among these hills, when like a roe I bounded o'er the mountains by the sides of the deep rivers and the lonely streams, wherever nature led, more like a man, flying from something that he dreads, than one who sought the thing he loved. For nature then, the coarser pleasures of my boyish days, and their glad animal movements all gone by, to me was all in all. I cannot paint what then I was. The sounding cataract haunted me like a passion. The tall rock, the mountain, and the deep and gloomy wood, their colours and their forms were then to me an appetite, a feeling and a love that had no need of a remoter charm, by thought supplied, nor any interest unborrowed from the eye, that time is past, and all its aching joys are now no more, and all its dizzy raptures, not for this faint eye, nor mourn nor murmur, other gifts have followed. For such loss I would believe abundant recompense, for I have learned to look on nature not as in the hour of thoughtless youth, but hearing oftentimes the still sad music of humanity, nor harsh the grating, though of ample power to chasten and subdue. And I have felt a presence that disturbs me with the joy of elevated thoughts, a sense sublime of something far more deeply interfused, whose dwelling is the light of setting suns, and the round ocean, and the living air, and the blue sky, and in the mind of man a motion and a spirit that impels all thinking things, all objects of all thought, and rolls through all things. Therefore am I still a lover of the meadows and the woods and mountains, and of all that we behold from this green earth, of all the mighty world of eye and ear, both what they half create and what perceive, well pleased to recognize in nature and the language of the sense, the anchor of my purest thoughts, the nurse, the guide, the guardian of my heart and soul, of all my moral being. Nor perchance, if I were not thus taught, should I the more suffer my genial spirits to decay, for thou art with me here upon the banks of this fair river, thou my dearest friend, my dear, dear friend, and in thy voice I catch the language of my former heart, and read my former pleasures in the shooting lights of thy wild eyes. Oh, yet a little while may I behold in thee what I was once, my dear, dear sister, and this prayer I make, knowing that nature never did betray the heart that loved her. 'Tis her privilege, through all the years of this our life, to lead from joy to joy, for she can so inform the mind that is within us, so impress with quietness and beauty, and so feed with lofty thoughts, that neither evil tongues, rash judgments, nor the sneer of selfish men, nor greetings where no kindness is, nor all the dreary intercourse of daily life shall e'er prevail against us, or disturb our cheerful faith, that all which we behold is full of blessings. Therefore let the moon shine on thee in thy solitary walk, and let the misty mountain winds be free to blow against thee and in after years, when these wild ecstasies shall be matured into a sober pleasure, when thy mind shall be a mansion for all lovely forms, thy memory be a dwelling place for all sweet sounds and harmonies, oh! Then, if solitude or fear or pain or grief should be thy portion, with what healing thoughts of tender joy wilt thou remember me, and these my exhortations, nor perchance, if I should be what I no more can hear, nor catch from thy wild eyes these gleams of past existence, wilt thou then forget that on the banks of this delightful stream we stood together, and that I, so long a worshipper of nature, hither came unwearied in that service, rather say, with warmer love, oh, with far deeper zeal, of holier love, nor wilt thou then forget that after many wanderings, many years of absence, these steep woods and lofty cliffs, and this green pastoral landscape were to me more dear, both for themselves and for thy sake. Wow. That took me a long time to get through. I do apologise if my voice was a bit all over the place. That took multiple takes and many tries on some of the lines. But what a saga. I don't know about you, but it certainly paints a picture in my head. It is an incredible description of the countryside. I don't know if you can hear the insane rain that's happening outside, but it is an absolute downpour. But I'm going to leave it in because I really want to get this done today. And I won't have time tomorrow, so I hope you like rain. If you can hear it, I haven't listened to it back yet. Anyway, that was A Few Miles Above Tintern Abbey, also by William Wordsworth. I don't know how many words that was, but wow. It's more like a conversation than a poem. It was very difficult, but also a pleasure to read. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. That was very fun. Unfortunately, this has actually gone on for much longer than I initially planned. I was going to talk quite a bit about Wordsworth himself, his works, maybe a bit of his life, and also his contribution to literature. He and another poet actually started what was known as the Romantic Age in English poetry. And it's, well, to me at least, it's all quite interesting. But I think I've just hit the 20-minute mark or thereabouts. So, I'm actually going to save that for another video or audio where I do a smaller piece and then talk a bit more about him and maybe some other poets that he's worked with. That's the plan for now. I will try to make this I think a realistic goal would be a monthly series, and it's been very fun. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope you join me again.